You're listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast, the official podcast of jaysjournal.com and fansite.com. We are the official ballroom chat for everything Toronto Blue Jays baseball, from game highlights to rumors and all the stuff in between. Here's your host, Craig Borden, with co-host Jason Lyons and Liz McGuire. Now let's talk some Toronto Blue Jays baseball.
Good evening, Blue Jays fans. And sorry, my phone is literally ringing right off the bat here. So to that point, we are the Jay Bird Watching Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Borden. With me, as always, Liz McGuire, Jason Lyons. How the heck are you two?
I'm super delighted. Okay, I'm delighted. As you know, I'm
Please
just going to say I wanted Max Scherzer. That's what I've decided that I'd like. I have him for a year, and that's enough time with him. I will also say extend Vladdy. Thank you.
Where is that? Jason, how the heck are things on the other side of the coast here?
Well, I got up very early this morning for my son's hockey practice, and I heard this weird tinkle, tinkle, tinkle on the roof of my house, and I was confused, and I didn't know what was happening. And then I remembered that it actually does rain in Vancouver quite a bit, although we haven't had rain in like 2 months. So it was raining. I'm supposed to get a whole crap load of snow this weekend. So I hate that. I hate snow. I hope it blows over or goes somewhere else, or at least just lands on the mountains around here. But other than that, I mean, baseball stuff's happening. We're getting close. What are we, under 30 days to pitchers and catchers, I think? And might be right at that number. But just, Max Scherzer, all kinds of fun stuff going on.
Yeah, we're going to get to that part of the conversation here, but I got to bring in our friend here that is hanging up in the other corner here with us. Our friend from Major League Brews, host of the No Bad Hops podcast. Anthony, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. Finally talking with you guys. I've been, watching and following along, and I'm glad to be here.
Same. We've been having fun goofing around with watching your stuff and back and forth over the last few weeks. Look forward to, having some fun here, talking everything Blue Jays news, baseball news, obviously beer and ballparks. And we're going to have some fun talking some merch at the end of the show, because you have a wonderful plethora of stuff with the Major League Brews brand. So, and also anybody in the peanut gallery, all our friends in the cheap seats in the chat, make sure you get your comments in, get your chat in. We are here to answer any and all questions humanly possible. And let's just dive into the big news. Like Jason mentioned, we are only a couple of weeks away from pitchers and catchers, so hurry up and re-sign Vladdy is number one. But the major news today, hot off the presses, Liz McGuire gets her pre-birthday gift that Max Scherzer is a Toronto Blue Jay. So, Liz, come on, knock it out of the park here. You were the one dying for Mad Max.
I really wanted him, and now I have him. Like when you get the pony and you're like, oh man, what am I going to do with this horse? No, I'm really excited. I think there's been some critiques. They're like, well, he's only made how many starts in 2 years? Well, he's been injured. That's what happens, guys. He has a long track record of pitching good, and I like the deal we got him on. I think it's 1 year. How much is it?
$15 million.
15.5.
Yeah, and I like that. I think I think that they're showing they want to contend. Also, we're always dealing with haters who are like, oh, people don't that's the thing. People don't want to play in Toronto. Well, you know what? We got 2 free agents, which is super fun, because I don't think we had one since Springer showed up. Am I wrong?
No,
I don't know.
That's big.
Yeah, it's been a minute. And so it kind of, I don't know, it hushes the haters, because they're still coming at me on Twitter for other things. Sure, but sometimes things can just be fun, right? But I think that I think again, there's going to be a veteran, I know we already have some more veteran people, but he's a proven veteran, and I think that'd be good. We have some young guns or younger guns with Manoah trying to find his way, as well as our guy Francis, who's just on the cusp of greatness this year, maybe. And it'd be good that he could be there.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing on that whole thing is it's not just a veteran. You have a first ballot Hall of Famer joining this team. So, but Jason, before I let you dive in here, I got to let our guest put his 2 cents on. What are your thoughts of just Mad Max in general at this point, Anthony? What do you think he brings to a ball club?
I think the leadership factor is a big thing. I think him just sitting in a bullpen or sitting on a bench and being able to mentor some of those young pitchers that you're talking about. But if he can give you 20 starts, 25 starts, of vintage, and even we're not talking like Cy Young Mad Max, but like good Max Scherzer, that's worth a lot to a team who I think the rotation has a lot of good starters in it. You never know. I was a big Chris Bassett fan last year, and he kind of let me down. I invested in him in fantasy baseball very heavily.
There it is.
So I was rooting for him, and there's some question marks, but there's a lot of potential bounce back too. So I think it's a more like a high ceiling kind of move where if it works out, it's really going to work out.
Correct. And it's only money.
It's
It's
only
1
money.
year.
It's only 1 year.
So, Jason, the vibes. I made the goof on Twitter right before we go on here with the wonderful eyes that Scherzer has. I'm waiting for somebody to like do that edit of the Rey Mysterio wrestling video where it's just like doing all the weird masks and whatnot, like for here for a jumbotron view. But what kind of vibe do you think that we're getting when we get Mad Max into this rotation?
Well, I think the biggest thing with Max Scherzer brings is something that there's very few people that have ever played sports that deliver what Max Scherzer delivers. I hearken back to a guy like Ray Lewis or a guy like Bob Gibson, Goose Gossage. Like, people are afraid of Max Scherzer, and the crazier Max acts, the more fear people seem to have in him. And I promise you, people, if he gets a couple of W's this year at the start of the year, look out. Because this guy would eat his young to win baseball games. I mean, he is a total savage. And I've seen him do interviews and all the rest of it. And I feel like some of it might be fake. Like, I feel like some of it might be sort of like it's funny you would make the Rey Mysterio. I think some of it is like a wrestling persona that Max has taken on, just as sort of the aura, the two different colored eyes, and the fact that he is a little nutty, and he's never been the biggest guy, but he's not scared to go at anybody, and just all of that stuff. He brings this total untangible, and the one person that I think this is going to help out the most, because this guy's a bit of a wing nut too, is Bowden Francis. I mean, this guy is on the cusp of sort of pitching genius and pitching crazy, and that's Max. Max is that. He lives in that every single day. Be it, and Alek Manoah tried to do it. Marcus Stroman tried to do it. They never quite did it right. You have to be certifiable or at least be the best actor at it. And that's what Max is. Max is he brings you this sort of bloodthirsty, and then they interview him and he's talking about like the snow cone that he had the day before. And you're like, dude, like, what is going on with you? But I really, as much as Liz was tooting, Max as his horn a while ago, I've secretly thought this was a really smart deal for the Jays based on a good dollar and the fact that like Anthony said, I mean, this guy can get in there and he can affect every guy that's in that, not only on the starting group, but also in the bullpen. He's that much of a pitching force. Like you said, potentially a first ballot Hall of Famer, which you don't get every day.
3-time Cy Young winner. Like you said, he's had some struggles the last few years, but that's the funny thing is when he has been on the bump, he has been good. It's not like he's been barely win above replacement or mediocre. He's still been a solid pitcher. And I just think it's funny that he once again beat out his old teammate just by $5 million or whatever it was on this deal. Verlander signed right at 15. I'll get 15.5. I'm better than Verlander is what he just did to the Blue Jays. So for episode 445 tonight of the Jaybird Watching Podcast, we got 70 of you in the chat already. Please let us know your thoughts on Max Scherzer. I do have a birthday wish a little bit here for you, Liz. One of your friends clearly saying they don't have quite 15 million for you, but
no. Also, my birthday, I did get my real birthday wish because it is next Thursday of Ricky Romero. So it's Ricky birthday, which is like big time, guys. Like I'm not dissing our boy.
We're getting an almost near Cy Young Award winner on this show.
Well, yeah, we're getting bigger. We're doing it together, friends. Yeah, that's #blessed.
Yeah, there you go. And not to put a damper on our current guest, Anthony, we're going to let you talk a little bit about here, but I got to go around the table outside of Jason, who is currently trying to watch his weight during the week and only drinks on the weekends, apparently. But let's talk some brews, everything warm, bubbly, and or cold and hops. What do you got on the plate here, Liz? There it is.
There it is. So I'm drinking Left Field Brewery, which is a local Toronto baseball themed brewery, Squeeze Play. They usually have some really nice kind of baseball themed beers. I think they had one that was like 10-cent beer night, which is always my favorite. And they have one called Ice Cold Beer, which you often hear that being yelled, Ice Cold Beer. I will say this about our friends Left Field. They provide the beer for the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball team, whose hat I'm wearing. And they also have a beer called the Maple Leaf Lager. Unfortunately, some bad news. They were one of the I don't know if you know this, Anthony, but in Ontario, everybody sells a tall can. No one sells a small can. And Left Field Brewery is one of the last breweries to have a small can you could buy. No longer. They're going to the tall can format. God bless them. I guess it's the right thing to do based on the market. But I will tell you, as a female baseball fan who can't chug beer that fast, it gets warm. And this one fits my little hands. So yeah, tonight I'm drinking some Left Field.
I am very jealous.
All right,
I've been pining after some Left Field, some beers from them because anytime I see a baseball themed brewery, it's like I gotta get my hands on those, and there's so few of them, and they're always in a place where like I'm never gonna end up.
Well, we might have to solve that one and get you up for a few pints. So on that note, you're always the connoisseur of all things beer, it seems, from your wonderful brand and the awesome Instagram follow that you are. What's on the plate tonight?
So I have a beer from Other Half Brewing. They're in New York. They have multiple locations at Brooklyn, and they've moved up and around to DC. They've opened up in Philly now, and it's called Strikeout Juice.
Sweet.
So
there you go.
It's a nice IPA, not too heavy, 6.5. So we could rock these for a while. But I love when we can get a baseball themed beer on a baseball podcast. It all just works out so nicely. And Max Scherzer signing, so I feel like he's one of the strikeout kings of our era. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, you couldn't hit that one
We'll call that Blue Jay blue in the background.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yep.
And Anthony, I don't know if anyone else, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but Anthony is sporting a sweet Vancouver Canadians bucket. And the Vancouver Canadians have added, finally, for the first time in ever, they're adding seats to Nat Bailey. So they're going to add a couple of hundred to start. And the goal, I think, is to actually add seats the whole way around the home run to create, like right now, I think it's about 6,500 seats. It's a sellout every night. And I remember when we had we've had a couple of C's on here, and they're like, it sounds like 10,000. So it's cool to see that. And then I know that Parallel 49 has stepped up again, I think this year, to be the main beer provider for so big ups to Mike Sleeman, my boy there, Mikey. Funny, a guy named Sleeman works for a beer company named Parallel 49 and doesn't have anything to do with Sleeman. But yeah, it's nice to see, when we get a little closer to the season, they're going to have some more baseball themed beers for Nat Bailey. So I'll be able to update Anthony. I'll send you a care package from up here. One of their big ones right now is called Wiener Water. And it's my favorite. I'm not joking you. All puns aside with the whole thing, Mike, if you're listening, and I know you're out there somewhere, it could possibly be the best beer you guys have ever made. And these guys, Parallel 49, are big. Like, if you go look them up, they started at this little tiny craft brewery. They've expanded to being one of Canada's biggest beers right now. And this Wiener Water, I mean, you probably can't call it that in the store, but it is so flipping good. So good.
I don't know.
Oh, come on. There's already a million different ones. Yeah, exactly. That's where I was going. So tonight I'm repping the local Rochester, New York here brand. I am drinking a Genesee Brewery specialty, and I couldn't believe there's somehow two of these survived in my fridge. So I'm like, okay, 1, 2, got it. So Genesee being one of the oldest breweries actually in the States and right here in Rochester, New York. And if you are ever in town, highly recommend going to the Genesee Brewery. They have a wonderful brew house that has great food, and they also do the tours. and it is the original building that's literally right on the Genesee River in Rochester, New York. Wonderful tour. Obviously, plethora of beers and a lot that they don't actually sell in stores. So there's your promo. So Anthony, I want to start off the round of questions that we're going to go around here with the fun. Cheers, mates. So in your travels, you've also gotten to a lot of minor league teams. You've gotten here, you've gotten there. As you've been wandering around, where has been one of the favorite places you had a brew while you've been, in your baseball wanderings?
Probably the Frisco Rough Riders down in Texas. They have a lazy river in their outfield, and I was able to drink a beer in the lazy river, and that somehow that was on top of my bucket list for baseball and beer drinking. Yeah, I mean, again, another one I never thought I would actually check off, but I went to the All-Star game last year in Texas, and I was like, all right, we are about 30 minutes away, so I Ubered there, got there nice and early for a Thursday game, my bathing suit, and hopped in and had a couple beers out there. It was good for a while, and then it was like kind of like, well, I'm from New Jersey, so it was like the Jersey Shore crept in behind me, and it was a lot of young people, not watching the game. They all had their backs, and I was like, all right, I've had my time. I've enjoyed it. The old guy's got to get out of the pool now and not get a twisted tea thrown at his head. So
yeah.
So I made it out.
Doesn't need to turn to a tailgate party all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, I was the only one drinking a craft beer in the lazy river. Everyone else, it was a twisted tea or a Michelob or something else. So I got out and enjoyed the rest of the game from a nice seat.
Yeah. When the Keystone Light crowd kind of creeps in, you might want to move off.
Yeah, but it was a pretty cool experience. The first couple innings, we got to see the sunset over the stadium, and it was one of those moments where you're like, all right, this is pretty awesome.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I'll give you one that I actually really enjoyed. And for my day job many years ago, I traveled all day, every day, and I got stuck in El Paso, Texas very often. When I got there near the end of that part of those years that I was working in that town, that's when the Chihuahuas actually came back into life. So the AAA team for the San Diego Padres in the Pacific Coast League, and wonderful time, but they had good beer, craft beer in like the $20 bucket, and you could get like a whole 12-pack of craft beers from around El Paso. So we used to just go hang out at the ball game. It was a new ballpark, new team, very exciting team at the time, because this is when all the youngsters are now current major leaguers for the Padres with Tatis and whatnot. And it was just a fun time. We would go, the four of us, and we just keep buying those buckets on Thursday nights and then have to get an Uber home.
Yeah. Minor league games are kind of like a bar. Like instead of going to a bar, let's go hang out. You get a little baseball, you grab a couple beers for cheap, and you can, especially on a Thursday night, they're always doing a Thirsty Thursday kind of thing. So I love minor league baseball. It's one of my favorite experiences. Watching the game.
Jason, no, you got that wonderful thing that you have so many now bars to have in the Rogers Center to hang out at. But
okay,
I'm
going to talk about that. So that's new. So prior to say 2018, you couldn't get craft beer. There was no craft beer at the Sky Dome, none. And so they did the renos, and now you can get all kinds of beer, and it's delightful. But like it was. Right on. Yes, it was bad. It was bad for a while. Like, so that's why you'll see me. I'm always like, my favorite beer is Bud Light Lime, because like I would just be chugging Bud Light Limes in the 500s from 2010 to 2014, and then they kind of discontinued it. It tasted like soap. It's not good, guys. It's trash. I love it. I love it dearly. Like, I love it dearly. And I always say that like my favorite baseball memory and it continues, is having, get ready, guys, 2 beers. One in each hand, right? You got to have 2 beers in one in each hand. And then someone hits a dinger. And when they hit the dinger, they play the home run horn. And then the cans vibrate in your hands. It's the best feeling of all. Like, if I could be like, what is love? I'd be like, that's love. That's love. And so, so the bars are new. And so now, like, instead of just concrete and rebar, we have all these places where if you don't want to watch the game, you can go and like sit on a beanbag chair and watch it from a screen inside, which gets kind of also everybody out. So there used to be the 500 used to be a big party section. But it'd be like bachelor parties. And
comment section for that one too. I would say that that's exactly the summary of this comment that we just got from our friend.
Yeah, that's collapse. No,
Let's go was many beer drinks in that.
No,
Let's go. That's all.
It's changed. It's changed now. So the whole thing is like people wouldn't watch the game. They'd be there because the seats were cheap, having like a bachelorette party and going, woo, men and women alike. And so now they can go to those. There's a spot for them, and like there should be a spot for everybody if you want to go. They can go inside, hit the inside bars, and the 500s are just kind of like more drunk baseball people, which is fun. But like, yeah, I like now you can get all kinds of beers. There's all kind of beer selection. It's gotten much better than before. Also, there's like Canada has been it's very like buttoned up when it comes to alcohol. Like in the States, if you go to a ballpark, you can like pretty much go anywhere with your beers, and your beers are pretty big. And I remember I went to see the Jays in Cleveland this year, and the game ended, and they're like, you know what? We're gonna have Shaquille O'Neal, DJ Diesel on the field. And I was like, what? So I'm sticking around for that. And you can have your beers with you. You cannot have beer after the 7th inning in Canada. You are not allowed.
They don't sell it.
They don't sell it. You can have it on you, but you cannot buy it. Although there's a hack. There's one bar where you can get after 7th inning beers, but that's how pro clutchy they are. So it's like they've now you can't bring beers into the Jays store. You can't bring beers anywhere. They're really weird about it. But now you can buy beers everywhere in the dome. It seems like there's like places to buy a beer, which is amazing. So in conclusion, more beer, better beer, but like I was still cool with the shitty beer.
Well, here, how about this? So a friend of mine owns one of the more successful restaurant bar chains in Canada. They own the sports bar in Toronto there, Liz. I'm sure you're familiar with that big, huge, crazy sports bar. So what he said to me, and I will pass this advice to the three of you and anyone else that's out there. If you go to a sporting event and there hasn't been an event in that building for a while, do not drink the draft beer, at least for a couple of innings or a period or whatever, because that stuff is sitting in those lines. They don't clean it out. They just let it sit there and
You're not going to have a good time.
Oh my God. It's so bad. So pathetic. I will say this, like I've been to a fair amount of ballparks in the US. I've done a lot of spring training baseball. I really feel like in some cases, the American stadiums have to move away from the larger branded beers in more significant, like I went to a game at Dodger Stadium and all of the beer there was crap. Every beer that I got that 100%. I didn't know, except for Modelo, it's fine. It's totally drinkable and totally fine. But the rest of it, I was like some kind of Swan or something like that. And I had one of those and I was like, this is possibly the worst thing I've ever drank. But it's one of those things where I'm similar to Liz, where if I go to a baseball game, I am just as happy to get a Miller Lite and sit there and just a hot dog and a Miller Lite and just let the afternoon happen. But I mean, it's, we're now starting to compete with like these 12% Cutwaters and stuff that you can get at games. And, like why wouldn't you buy one can of pure alcohol rather than spending, like, for me personally, and I don't know how it is, like Anthony, I don't know if you've been to a Rangers game or anything lately, a large beer, a 20-ounce beer at a Vancouver Canucks game, and get ready when I say this, is $27, and it is garbage beer. Garbage. Like, we're talking about, like, we're getting to a point now where when I go to a Canadians game, they're at least selling it at something that resembles what I would pay for it in a restaurant or a bar. They have lots of specials. They have beer nights. Okanagan's involved. Parallel 49's involved. So you can have a good time and you can enjoy a bunch of different kinds of beer that are enjoyable. But you go to these major arenas now, and they're charging you so much for crap beer. And there's got to be, like, if I owned a beer company or anything like that, I would be horrified when I'm in there and watching these companies gouge people for a 30-ounce Budweiser that wasn't cold the second they gave it to you.
funds.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Anthony, you hit it.
No, I definitely see that a lot. You know, Dodger Stadium for me was the worst. Yankee Stadium and Dodger Stadium were the two worst for a variety of beers.
Yeah.
Most of the one, and I've heard Dodger Stadium has gotten better now. They've let in some more local stuff, but before that, everything was just big company, AB, InBev and big corporations. And it was all bad and it was all expensive.
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium, very similar. There's like one stand where you can get like one craft beer and it's on draft and it's always bad because they don't clean the lines and it's just, they don't do it justice. So Yankee Stadium and Dodger Stadium, and I can't even imagine now what a beer is going to cost at Dodger Stadium because they got to pay for a lot. They got to pay for a lot of guys, and that bill comes due eventually.
Well, maybe they'll just start serving Sapporo as just the only beer that you're able to get there. At this
point,
and then
they might.
Sapporo's not too bad compared to some of the stuff I've had at some of those other balls.
Maybe they'll
when I was
serve
at
it.
Dodger Stadium, Mango Cart was the big seller, and Mango Cart is not great. So some of the better beer stadiums, and I've been to Denver and I've been to Coors Field, and Denver is a beer capital of it's one of the major cities that has great breweries. And I drank a lot of Coors Banquet there because it was just really good. And it just hit
Yellow
the spot.
Jackets.
And it was
fresh.
It was like $5 for a good pour.
Do you guys
And
call
it
them
just-
Yellow Jackets?
No, you call them.
I've never heard that one before.
I've never heard
That's
that.
That's all anybody out here calls them is Yellow Jackets.
I've never heard that one.
Makes
You can
sense.
steal it. It's a good one.
A little banquet beer.
Little banquet. Yeah, feeling classy, get a banquet. So I got to get to a couple of comments here from our friends in the cheap seats. So first off, Liz, you were talking about the love moment a few minutes ago. The Joey bat flip is love.
That's love. Yeah.
Another one somebody brought up was they used to have the Toonie Tuesdays in the 500 level. Apparently there were a lot of fights. That one didn't go so well, maybe.
No,
That's like monster trucks. I don't know if you guys have ever been to monster trucks, but that's just try not to get into a fight for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So, but that it's the fun of it, right? At the end of the day, they got to get people in the seats, and sometimes, especially when the team isn't doing good, you have to have a cheap beer night, loony hot dog night, whatever it might be. So, go ahead, Liz. You clearly got the wheels moving here.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna. So I will say there's a comment about what happened to 10 cent. Whatever happened to 10 cent beer night? It went well in Cleveland. If you do not know the tale of 10 cent beer night, I urge you to look it up. Beer was 10 cents. There was no limit. It's in the 70s in Cleveland. There was no limit to how much you could get. It turned out essentially it ended when players had to make weapons defend themselves against people rushing the field with weapons made of the seats. People were streaking. It was bad, man. It was a full on-field brawl. Beautiful times.
Simpler times.
Simpler times.
That's right up there with the worst promos in baseball history with the burn the disco night?
Yeah,
disco burn night.
That's up there for sure. I was a DJ for a number of years, clubs, bars, strip joints, that kind of stuff. I still remember one of my favorites was they would do bladder busters. Do you guys remember those? Or did you guys ever know what that is? So a bladder buster was about a 40-minute window where you were allowed to get into the bar and you paid $10. So you got into the bar, $10. It was all you could drink beer until someone used the bathroom. Yeah. So as soon as somebody broke the seal on one of the bathrooms, it was over. You could leave, but you couldn't come back in. So you can imagine it got really messy. And then people back then, you could smoke in the bars and restaurants. People would be going for the bathrooms, and people would be throwing ashtrays at them, and but it's
glasses around the car and stuff.
And this was encouraged as a regular thing on a Wednesday night. It wasn't like Saturday night. It's get ruined, people. So I guess you have to kind of get that. They've just introduced national lacrosse here, like pro lacrosse, And in the same building where it cost me $27 for a beer for the Canucks, it's $6.
Yep.
Doesn't make any sense, but they're trying to encourage people to go and drink. And then what was the other one? Somebody
hang
just
out.
launched their one of the major league teams launched their like under $5 menu.
I will argue. I have arguments about that. The Jays have had that for years. The Jays have had that for years. It's the dugout deals. It's like 2 or 3 sections where they have it. Everything's been $5. It's like, and so I feel bad because the Orioles are like, we got under $5 menu, and
that
I'm
was
like,
Orioles.
Yeah, it's Orioles, but it's like the Jays have been, and it's cheaper because it's not in the same dollar.
Canadian.
So I've been drinking $5 like small cans of Bud, and living off chicken fingers off the $5 menu. They're like $2 in like section, I think 327. I could be wrong, and like on the twos as well. We used to get our section around the dollar deals and dugout deals because we would be living off that all year.
That's hilarious.
Just to say, Liz, when I was covering your bar tab for you, when I was staying up there with you the last couple of times, I don't think it was quite cheaper for me, even though it was American money versus Canadian.
Oh, we were drinking cups of beer. Like we were drinking fashion beers. It was there was some drunkenness.
That was a hell of a weekend, and a few weekends, and many more to come. So
yeah, and in Baltimore,
anyways.
a $5 menu is necessary because they have really good food out in Baltimore. It's one of the better food stadiums, I will say. But every sandwich is like $27. So, you need a $5 hot dog to kind of balance it out.
Yeah, the Jays food's trash. It's like it's always been bad for a long time. I remember the food provider, I think it was maybe Sodexo. It was the same food that did my residence, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's trash. Like, it's like it hasn't been good for years, and they try and spice it up and make it better, but it never really is.
I remember when the Sky Dome opened, it was literally Air McDonald's for how many years? It was just McDonald's and beer.
Bring that back, man. I remember. Sorry, Aramark Foods. Michael, thank you, Aramark Foods. And I remember thinking, I was on this small dairy farm many hours away from Toronto and seeing McDonald's and thinking, that's amazing. I would die to go there. And so, yeah, I always say if I could time travel and go back in time, it'd be to the Sky Dome McDonald's to get beef tallow fries and a beer. Let's go.
500 level.
Watch a fighter 3.
So we talked, obviously drinking beers in the ballpark, enjoying the ball game. Anthony, you mentioned one that I wanted to touch on here because I'm sure everybody here has done something, and we have all these things. You've mentioned baseball-themed bars. As you've been wandering around, you've been to many of them, as it sounds like, and you're collecting cans, it sounds like. Where has been one of those places that's been, wow, this is a real fun place to some of your travels?
I'd like to say it was somewhere
I'm putting you on spot.
It was somewhere offbeat, and now I'm gonna forget the name of it, and I'm gonna kick myself. So let me do some Googling while I'm talking here. But it's actually in New York City. It was in New York City. It was a casualty of the pandemic. It closed down right in 2020. Baseball bar in New York. Let's go. And it was tiny, but it had autographed baseballs all over the place. It was a baseball bar. And there were certain this bar was beyond a baseball bar. It was a weird place because it was an Iowa State basketball bar. Whoa. So when Iowa State basketball was on TV, it was packed with Iowa State alumni watching games. It was a Pittsburgh Penguins bar. So when the Penguins were on, the TVs were all Pittsburgh Penguins games. But it was a baseball bar at heart, and it just had, like I said, autographed memorabilia everywhere. My wife and I went there for the playoffs. It was the year the Royals went to the World Series, and we watched Royals.
Ooh.
Watched the Royals play, and it was not the Royals Toronto series.
Okay.
But they were going to the World Series, and we were just yelling, "The Moose is loose" for I don't know, 3 hours straight. And then the Cardinals,
Mike Moustakis,
and it was a Cardinal. It was a big fan base of Cardinals fans came in, And we were sitting at a table and like, hey, can we fit 2 more people with you? And so this couple from St. Louis sat down with us and we watched the Cardinals playoff game. And we were drinking Schlafly's beers, which are from St. Louis, but they were running out. So we were down to the last can of Schlafly's and it was on our table and it was good luck. So we had 4 straws. Now we're drinking with strangers in like 2013, 2014 out of the same can because it was good luck for the Cardinals. So, I mean, it was a baseball bar. We did strange things there. And I mean, I watched the MLB draft there. It was a great place to watch baseball. And when they shut down, it was tough. It was a little piece of me was there too. So
there you go. Liz, Jason, either of you while I open my second can here.
Yeah, I've got 2. So obviously I have close proximity to Seattle, and as much as I don't like the Mariners or the Seahawks, I will say this: they do have a great square around both stadiums with a lot of really good bars and high quality bar fare, like not garbage. I think probably one of the more fun nights I ever had was there's a bar called Sluggers. It is, I mean, when you want to turn it on and like there's Jaeger flowing, like they're giving it away for free. Like, I mean, they go nuts in that place. So that's a great one. And then, sorry, Anthony, I know that you're not a big Red Sox guy, but I've been to Fenway a couple of times, and I really have to give it to the bars around Fenway. They are nostalgic and old and all the rest of it. And if you ever get a chance, I mean, the Cask and Flagon, when there is a game on, it's insanity. People are packed to the absolute sides of it. It is so much fun. And the people of Boston, if they see, that you sort of look like you're out of sorts of not knowing where you're going, a lot of times they'll ask where you're from. And, I happened to go to the World Series there in 2004, and I didn't pay for a beer for 3 days. I was wearing like Vancouver Canuck stuff and Vancouver Canadian stuff. And so they were always asking where we were from and why we were there. And we were like, we flew from Vancouver to see the World Series. And it was like, BS, like they just cover the table in beer. And so I got to give it to them, the Cask and Flag. And we went there a lot when we were in Boston. It's if you get the chance, while a Red Sox game is on, I don't know if there's anywhere better.
I love that. That makes me really happy. My favorite story happened to me. I'm just going to talk about, I had a weird summer. I got hurt, and then I was a baseball card. But what happened is that everyone kept giving me beers. So, and I would drink them. And like,
dull the pain. Don't worry about it.
I was just going to, like, I didn't pay for, I don't know. It was a good season for me in terms of alcohol consumption, which shouldn't have been because I had a real bad brain injury, but here we are. So
Got you a podcast hosting spot. Don't worry about it.
There we go. Yeah. So then I was like doing interviews outside the Dome, and people kept handing me beers. So I was like shotgunning and drinking beers in between all these TV spots I had to do. And like
interview.
When I was standing, I was like just standing outside the Dome. Maybe there was a game on. I was probably going to it. But one of the guys from left field just randomly shows up with a 6-pack and is like handing me some beers. I chugged those. I drank beers. When I had to meet with the Blue Jays, so I had to meet with the executives because I kind of forced a meeting, and I was like, guys, I'm not going to sue you. You've literally seen me chugging beers all over and all around your stadium against medical advice. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, yes.
So one of my favorite ones, I got a twofer here because I have a baseball cultural one, and then I have an actual bar I really enjoyed. I'm going to go with the bar first. So I was a frequent visitor of Lansing, Michigan for the Lansing Lugnuts. And there is the littlest city there, right? And there's just bar. And they're all bangers. They're all awesome. So I would just go to hang out because I happen to be in town through this podcast, working with Jay's Journal and everybody like that. I would just call up Jesse Goldberg-Strassler, who was the announcer at the time. And he still is, but it's just odd because he's not a Blue Jays member anymore. It's part of the Athletics, but he got a major league call up for a week because of his connection with the Athletics. So cheers to Jesse. So I'm like, where do I go? I've never been here before. And he goes, oh, just walk across the street. You're all set. So I walk across the street, and about an hour later, he walks in. So him and I sat down longer and had more beer. He goes, I knew you would probably be over here. I'm going to come over and hang out. And then it just turned into a normal thing. But it's called the hardware shop or something like that. It's like, because it's based on, it's a Lansing lug nuts, bar, and the players were there. It was just a fun time, but it was really cool. Good beer, awesome environment, kind of like you were saying, Anthony. We just decked out in baseball merc everywhere, and a lot of stuff from former players that had been through that organization and made it up to the bigs. Like there was stuff from Noah Syndergaard on that wall. Eventually, there, I was there first time when Bo and Vlad were, going through the Blue Jays system, and it was a really fun time. But then the other one that I have to mention, it wasn't technically a bar, but I had a similar experience to what Liz was talking about, with everybody's just, oh, you're not from here? Here, have a beer. And I went to a Milwaukee Brewers game. And Milwaukee Brewers fans tailgate baseball games like my Buffalo Bills do. And it was a freaking riot. People playing beer pong before the game, goofing around, had a great time. And then you go into the ballpark, and Miller Park, obviously they had Miller, but they did a good job, period, with the beer in that facility, in a wonderful ballpark to attend, period.
Yeah, I want to go. I'm going to just bring up a comment. I'm going to bring up a comment from Michael in the chat. So Toronto, they're saying Toronto's missing not a lot of bar options around the stadium. Now, it's true, but you think that until you go to other stadiums. You go to I don't know, apparently the Yankees Stadium.
Philly.
You go to I know that in Cleveland, there's literally nothing. There's nothing around the stadiums, nothing. Toronto actually has a decent amount, even if it's just the chain bars. If you just have to walk down onto Front Street or Kinger, there's still a party scene within quick walking distance. So it is not exactly a total party city, but we do have bars around the stadium. You can chug beers and walk to the game within 3-4 minutes, although you're going to get a table. And yeah, sure, man, it might be a Jack Astor's or a Boston Pizza, but you can still chug beers.
Yes.
Yankee Stadium has
clearly got a moment.
Yeah, Yankee Stadium has a bunch of bars outside, but I don't know if you saw during the Yankees Dodgers World Series, when Shohei Ohtani got hurt, they were all the ones giving the finger and cheering when Shohei Ohtani hurt his arm as he's sliding into second base. So I mean, that's kind of the vibe you're getting there. And I do love the dugout.
Bars. There's one on the way into the one gate that's literally it looks like a garage door opens up, a bunch of them.
Billy's,
I forget the name of the place. Billy's.
Billy's
so, been there
that's actually where that scene took place.
That's what I thought.
Billy's, the dugout. There's a few spots out there. Citi Field is probably one of my favorite stadiums to go to, but there's only a brewery under the stadium. It's McKellar was there at first when it first opened, and then they closed down, and now another brewery took over. And Ebbs, it's called Ebbs.
Isn't that why Cohen wants to basically build Cohenville around the ballpark now?
Well, yeah, because right now it's just chop shops. So I mean, that would be much better of an experience. So Mets fans do a great job of tailgating because there's nothing really else around to do. So there's football games, there's wiffle ball, there's cornhole, there's everything going on in the parking lots because there's not a lot else out there. And LA is in the middle of nowhere. San Diego's great because it's in the middle of the city. So you stumble and you're in the stadium by accident. And you're like, whoa, this is pretty awesome.
The one that killed me everybody knows Philadelphia and how their fans are. They're rabid, they're drunk, they're da 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 da. I love them to death. They're my kind of people. But at the end of the day, all those stadiums are right in the same damn spot, and there is one monster bar in between all the stadiums, and that's the only thing for the eye can see. So it's really rough trying to go to a game there. A couple of my friends, we were down there for a job. We actually were in New Jersey and then drove down because, hey, the Phillies are in town. Let's go to Citizens Bank. The one night we went to we went to a day game and then we went to a hockey game that night. And it was just we should be able to find somewhere to go get a beer in between, right? No big deal. Yeah, no, that didn't work very well. because there was 9,000 people in that freaking bar, it seemed like, and you couldn't go like this to even get a beer. So
There's
just went
lots
to
of-
the
Philly's
hockey game really early.
spot.
There's lots of stadiums though where the city has not been well planned around what they're doing. Like, I mean, I've been to a few. Arizona has 2 stadiums that are a total loss leader even for the area, and then they think, oh, we'll just put some stuff here, and then they decide to put crappy stuff there, and you're like, well, I mean, like at least we're looking. I don't know if you guys have seen where the Oakland A's are going to be playing in Vegas. There wasn't anything. There's nothing there. So they were like, we're going to build a whole bunch of stuff. Don't worry. So they are. So rather than
wait for it.
Rather than just put them in the stadium and have it try and make it work out there at Red Rock, they were like, forget it. We've got this giant empty parking lot that's part of this mall that nobody goes to. So we're just going to start putting stuff in there. And they've already started. They've already built infrastructure, and they're putting restaurants and bars, and they have this whole cool area where you can walk over from the casino and you go buy all this crap. Like, I mean, they really get it there. Not, there's a reason those casinos look the way they do. But it's funny, like even here, like where the Canucks play, where the Canadians play, there's nothing around. Like, I mean, you got to walk 10 minutes to get to even a shitty bar on Main Street. But I don't know that the intent was ever there. Like, Nat Bailey's been there for forever now, like 50 years. And the where you have to put the Canucks stadium, they had to put it there basically, and you really couldn't have too much around it. Like, you can 10-minute walk to lots of good stuff, but I do like it when you go to a stadium and it's all packed in there, and there's a little area outside, and they just do some of them
like that. Like it's nestled within the city. Like, you could stumble into a ball game. That's why so I was a firm hater of the Dome. I was like, tear down the Dome. I want a new stadium. It's a real baseball stadium, right? Which is apparently sacrilegious, but fuck everything. That's my thought on that. But I think because it's out of the way. Like, it's not, you can't just hear a baseball game going on or know that it's happening in your city. It's so contained. It is, when you're in the Dome, you're like, wow, we're really contained in here. And it's not, it doesn't, and they did a great job. It does feel more like a ballpark than it did previously when it was a multi-use stadium, but damn, it ain't no grass ballpark.
Yes, it's not Camden Yards for that example, because I still love that the Blue Jays just missed on that whole thing, because Camden Yards was opened literally a year later. Literally.
Yep. People
on
in
that
Canada.
note, and I will say something that I love about being being a Blue Jay fan growing up in Rochester and being that guy that commutes. I have seen what the city has done over time to swallow up where the Dome and the tower are.
It's not good. I agree. It isn't
actually there, and I could see the Dome for miles.
Yeah, that's how we forgot we have a waterfront. Toronto forgot it has a waterfront. But I will say this:
correct.
The skyline of Toronto is still amazing, but it's Canadians are very nostalgic. So I always have to remind people, what's the Dome's the third oldest stadium in MLB? And I'm like, guys, no, it's old. And everyone's like, but it's brand new. And you're like, no, it's old. And it was outdated right after it was made. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you gotta love the one you're with. And they did do a great job with the reno. And it does feel more like a ballpark. And the beers are better. So I'll take that as a one.
I gotta get to a fan comment here, because we have a Blue Jay fan in Baltimore territory who is loving our comments all of a sudden. And he's got a couple of themed bars here that we eventually may have to get to. Just saying, apparently the Pickles Pub is the place to be. I got a silly, useless beer trivia piece for you about Baltimore. A famous baseball player's dad used to own a bar in what is the big warehouse building in the outfield. Do you know who that Major League Baseball player was? One of the greatest of all time.
Wait,
I found out about this, and it's not recent. Think of how
I'm gonna say it's Babe Ruth, because Babe Ruth is from that area.
You are 100% right that Babe Ruth's dad owned a bar in that, and when I found that out, I was like, no. It's just one of those things that was just too coincidental, because it was a multiple choice question when I got asked it the first time. It was like a trivia night around here, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. There you go. I got it. So good stuff. But there was one of those silly history things I had to make sure. See, we're talking about pubs and bars and baseball. That was a hell of one. We talked about Babe Ruth and drinking in the same question. Win.
San Francisco.
I'm sure Babe Ruth talked about it.
San Francisco's a really good one too. I got to give it to you. It's a beautiful stadium. If you've never been, if you go to an afternoon game in the summertime, it's tough to beat. Great food in and out. And one of the things I liked about San Francisco, where it's situated, and now they've put the basketball stadium there and designed this whole new area down there. They moved the basketball stadium from Oakland. It's just such a cool, vibe down there when there's a game on, and it's fun city to go to watch a baseball game.
Stuff.
Yeah, that's on my list of places to go. But Seattle is great. I think San Diego is great beer wise and vibe wise. Baltimore Pickles Pub is a good place to go. They've kind of Baltimore swallowed up a lot of the outside area and kind of brought it into Camden Yards to kind of make it, I would say, safer. But there was a lot of that area around there that there's some cool stuff too.
So Anthony, it's near the end of our hour. I want to make sure you actually get a chance to talk about your products, your fun, your passions, your own podcast, all that kind of stuff. So I want to talk your brand, man. This Major League Brews stuff, I can bring up the website and show some of the, fun pictures and whatnot here from your site. I love the couple of Blue Jay ones that you have. And Liz, I think there's one here that is, all of our random collective friends that we've met over the years here. It was a perfect win, especially for the Leslie Nopes and whatnot of the world. Yep. But yes, Anthony, give us your brand pitch.
Yeah. So, baseball and beer, they're supposed to be fun stuff. And, that's kind of the idea behind the whole thing. Major League Brews was, we're not just major leagues, but we're minor league too. But it's just enjoying the game and enjoying a beer. And I don't know, I think beer and baseball go together so well. It's like, you take a little sip, you work your way through it, 9 innings, couple beers, friends. So that's where the whole thing really kind of started from. And then the podcast, the No Bad Hops podcast, because you don't want bad hops in your beer and you don't want bad hops on the field. So, it kind of works out. I've been doing a lot of the designs on there. I have with the podcast, we've taken a little hiatus, but we're coming back ready in February. I got a couple guests lined up, and we're gonna probably do like twice a month interviewing people who work in baseball, are involved in baseball in some way, or own a brewery. Because there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of breweries that are baseball themed, or they do baseball beers, and I've met a lot of people through that. So we'll be doing a twice a month podcast on that. And then the designs are, a lot of mascots, because mascots are fun too. Like, mascots are very underrated.
Tons of fun.
I know your ace one.
I love these ones. These ones that you did with the, just the mascots, the team colors. Who doesn't love the Philly Fanatic, regardless of fandom against the Phillies? You crushed it with this grimace one, my friend. Nailed it.
Craig, go down. There's a really cute ace one for the Jays. I will pick up a few of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I saw it on here.
All of the mascots. I think I have maybe like 8 or 9 more. I will say I do feel a little bad about the Cubs mascot, because the Cubs mascot is like a baby bear, and like, should a baby bear be drinking beer? I don't know. I've drawn it multiple times, and like, do I do this? Is this a thing? But I feel like he should be old enough by now. That mascot,
like 100. Yeah,
probably.
I think one is he's doing a Pooh Bear with no pants on. I think you're allowed to give him the whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Wally the Green Monster has been the most difficult one to draw so far. So I've done a couple different versions of him, but it's supposed to be baseball is supposed to be a fun thing we enjoy. Beer is supposed to be a thing you enjoy, and a lot of times with like the craft beer scene, a lot of my friends and things who are into that take it way too seriously. And it's like, it's beer. Let's relax. Like, enjoy it the way you want to enjoy it. If you want to enjoy a Miller High Life or a Yellow Jacket, or whatever it may be, like, enjoy it with your friends, enjoy it how you want, and as long as you enjoy it responsibly, it's cool. So that's kind of how the whole thing grew, and I've met a lot of great people, done some cool meetups, done some events at breweries. I got to design my own can label with a brewery down in New Jersey for when the Mets and Phillies played in England. So I did the little Fanatic
really
label,
cool.
and we did the whole like kind of bat thing around it, and we did an English pub ale. So it was a cool event, and we watched the Mets and Phillies we were at 10 o'clock in the morning. We're drinking beer and having some food. So it was a cool event, and I've done some other things with some breweries and hopefully some more stuff. And the one thing I just wanted to mention is the beer bat Friday. A beer bat is so fun, even though I cannot chug a beer.
No.
So Liz, I get it. I drink a beer as quickly as possible. I would not consider what I do chugging because I can't do it. So I leave that to the professionals, and I just drink it as fast as possible and try not to spill it on myself. But beer bat Friday with a few of our buddies on there. We've kind of made it a thing, and it's a great way to start the weekend, start your weekend series against your rival or however it is, and we're having fun with it, and that's the thing. You want to have fun. Like I said, baseball, beer, fun stuff.
100%. That's actually the reason we do this, and we love having people on that like drinking beer and baseball, having fun with us too. So I'm
sorry, I'm not Ricky Romero or
I don't know if Ricky Romero's I don't know if Ricky Romero's gonna drink beer with us or even give us beer advice, which is like what you need.
When I was listening to the Travis Snyder one, I was like, I'm like, this is gonna be a step down. So like your January really ending on a low note here. So
not at all, buddy. Come on.
Your viewership.
We're having fun. That's all this is about. We've been blessed with having some really cool people on the show, but that has 100% been a rarity. But that's the point of this show. We wanted to bring Blue Jays fans together, goof around, have a good time. We have promoted this show as the barroom chat for Blue Jays fans, so you fit that bill perfectly.
I have a question for our guy Anthony. What's your favorite beer?
Oh, favorite beer. If I had to pick a go-to beer, that's a tough one because I drink a lot of IPAs. I'll say that. I'm in that realm. But if I had to go with like a classic beer that's kind of like big, a Kona Longboard lager. They were originally they were Hawaii, and now I think Budweiser or somebody bought them. But it's just a solid beer. It's a lager. It's easy to drink. I could probably drink a bunch of them on the beach and not feel be okay.
I just
with
did.
it. But
I was just in Maui. I ripped through about 70 of them.
Yeah, they're just like a perfect beer to drink while you're just like hanging out and relaxing, and that will always have like a place in my heart because it's surfing's cool, the beer looks cool, it tastes great, so that's probably one of my all-time favorite beers.
Good deal. So I have a random other add-on to that trivia question I added on in our fan chat here. Our gentleman from Baltimore also has an additional. Apparently, Babe Ruth's dad not only owned the one bar, he owned an additional one down the street. It was a gentleman's club that recently burnt down, apparently. So thank you, Capsman. Appreciate it. More trivia for our fun here. So on that note, I'm out of questions. Jason, Liz, anything you want to throw out there? I've gotten everything I think I can get out of our chat right now. And thank you for the 229 people listening.
I got nothing, Jay. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm just stoked. Like it's guys like Anthony that are out there and they're doing this. And make sure you go check out his pod. And it's just about building this community into sort of. We don't have to be Ricky Romero's, and we don't have to be Jay Jackson every week. The reason that this has gotten to as popular as it is because we aren't those guys. We are what we are, and guys like you make that up. And Anthony, you are officially, I think, the first Yankees fan to ever be allowed on the show. and I haven't thrown anything at you or said anything.
Really good.
And so we're all growing here together right in front of everyone.
I'm glad we could all mature together and reach new heights. Like we're bringing the world together.
Don't go on my Facebook and look back about 12 years ago when I had my little 12-year-old sons saying Yankees suck. Don't. It's very cute. It's a very cute, thing, but just save yourself the trouble.
Yeah, like I would never say "fuck the Yankees" weekly ever. I would never do that as a rallying cry to the rest of the MLB. I would never say that. But if I did, I would have meant it.
Meant it in like a loving way.
Here's the thing. I will say this.
Yeah.
I met Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge was very nice to me and my nephew when we met him, and he signed our baseballs. And so it's like Aaron Judge is the nicest guy. I've hated that man for in fact, on my Twitter, they replay the clip where it's like, so Aaron Judge hits a home run in the Rogers Center, and the Blue Jays fan gives it to a Yankee kid. It was literally one section to the left yelling, "Throw it back. Throw it back." Aaron Judge, good guy.
Yeah, great guy.
So on that note, I'm going to do the Wayne's World bit here and go, isn't it great that we're all better people?
I
can learn
today, Craig. Craig, how have you grown today?
I've grown so many ways. I don't have any idea anymore. We'll see how many more it is after a few beers or if I forget one or the other. So classy establishment we have here. So on that note, Anthony, I know I gave you a chance to rep your brand, but tell the Blue Jays fans and everybody that listens to us for baseball fun where they can find you, what and all that kind of good stuff. And obviously we'll make sure we get your brand out to the wonderful world that it is anyway.
Yeah, you could follow me at Major League Brews. There's also the Instagram for the podcast at No Bad Hops. So you could follow either one. Major League Brews is where I spend most of the time, post most of the stuff. No Bad Hops is kind of where I just get out the podcast. The podcast is available wherever you find podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all those other places, wherever you may find it. Those are the two places I really, I'm mostly a little bit of YouTube, but mostly it's Instagram. So follow there and say hello. Let me know, what you're drinking. Post a picture and tag me. I'll reshare it. And especially you guys, you're out there, you're drinking beers, you're finding cool spots. I love to know about them. And I'm hoping to hit up a few more ballparks this year. Fenway's on the list. Atlanta's on the list. Toronto.
Atlanta's great.
Toronto's
great.
Hopefully a 2026 year.
Time.
Come on down, bud.
Atlanta's another one. That's
we'll make
underrated.
it fun.
Yeah, it's a great ballpark.
Yeah. So anytime you got a recommendation, you're somewhere, let me know and I'll share it out because we're about building a baseball and beer community. So thank you. And thanks for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. I've been, looking forward to talking to you guys and seeing you all, what you're doing. You're doing great stuff. And I enjoy listening to you. Even if it's not Yankee centric, it's enjoyable. And I did reach out to Craig and say, congratulations on getting Anthony Santander because, I'm happy you guys are signing people. Like, I don't want everyone going to the Dodgers. Sign with Toronto.
True.
Yeah,
I
think universally in this chat, I think we can all agree that we're better people because we all mutually hate the Dodgers now, right?
100%.
Let's go.
Definitely.
Let's go.
So awesome. Appreciate having you on, Anthony. Feel free to hang out for a second after we go off the air. And Blue Jays fans, thank you very much. Still have 238 of you in the live chat. We greatly appreciate you. Make sure you comment to us from those wonderful cheap seats that you're hanging out in. We do greatly appreciate the comments. Make sure you find us wherever you happen to be getting your podcast pleasures from to the same promo here that Anthony was doing. Apple, Spotify, all those wonderful places, on YouTube, social media, all at Birdwatching GC. And we will see you next week I'm going to let Liz do the birthday promo for next week.
Bam, it's my birthday. I turn, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'll be turning 41. Let's get it. Not only will I be turning 41, but we will be interviewing Mr. Ricky Romero, former Blue Jays starting pitcher. Let's go. Woo!
Awesome.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
That's why she's the hype woman of this show, right there.
That's our
Boom.
Flavor
Drop
Flav.
the mic. We got to get her one of those big Blue Jay clocks. I'm going to work on that with a 3D printer.
Awesome.
Good deal. Blue Jays fans, once again, Yankees fans, I guess, if they're hanging out with our buddy Anthony tonight. Major League Brews, check it out. We'll see you all next week. Have a great one. Cheers.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch at BirdwatchingGC and our YouTube channel. If you want to support the show and get extra content, please consider joining to our Patreon at patreon.com/birdwatchinggc. Go Jays, go.
Woo!